Hello and welcome once again.
God dang it.
Crazy Comics and Stories. It's me, the charming and delightful old Uncle Bastard. And at the other end of the series of tubes of wire we call the internets is Joe Crazy Writer. How you doing today, Joe?
Itchy. Good dang. I love going in the woods, but frickin' mosquito bites.
Mosquitoes?
Hate them. I got to tell you, and the worst part is, you get back and you take a shower, and it just like reactivates the itches again.
Don't you have remember when you were a kid and they would paint the stuff on you? Like mercurochrome or the stuff that looked like nail polish and you just paint it on? There was iodine, but there was also the thicker stuff, the kind of the pinkish gray stuff. Or that might have just been an Illinois thing. But you'd paint that on your bug bites because when I was a kid, the house I grew up in Smithfield, there was a huge blackberry patch, almost an acre of blackberries. And every year, it would be my job to go out and pick blackberries. And I'd do it for 3 or 4 days. I'd be filling up 2 5-gallon buckets a day. But then, at night, you couldn't sleep because you'd been bit by chiggers.
Oh, those are worse.
And you would have all the bites around where your underwear, the elastic was, and your socks. For some reason, that's where they wanted to go. And every year I'd go, we've got to do something about these chiggers so that I don't have them next year. And then the next year, nope, just, all right, go out there, start picking blackberries. And now when I see blackberries at the store, it's like, oh, $3.99 for a half-pint little. When I was a kid, we'd have 50 gallons of blackberries by the end of summer. So you were out in the woods?
Yeah. We went on vacation, as you know. I heard Dangerous Dan dropped by and hopefully didn't bore everybody. I didn't get a chance to listen. Did he do a Transformer rift? Or am I going to have to get on him about that?
You may have to get on him about that. Whenever anybody talks about Transformers, I just kind of zone out. But we had the founder and creator and head poobah and Big Cheese from LionCon,
cool.
Which was last weekend. LionCon was last weekend, where we debuted the Worldwide News book, where I did. And
I demand autographed.
Okay. And I did his panel, and then I did my own panel. Joe, I did a panel on comic books and gaming.
Now, did you, I was watching while I was at work, because it was kind of fun to live stream and everything. Now, the question is, do you remember the website? So people, because you're pre-ordering the book for what? Delivery when?
To be determined. What it was at the convention, we got what is known as the proof copy.
Mm-hmm.
So Dan and I are going to go over it with a fine-tooth comb, fix any problems, send it back and get it printed. The way to get a copy is actually just to email Dan at lordshadowflame@gmail.com.
Cool.
I don't think he has a website set up for selling it yet.
Maybe they'll be ready by FallCon.
FallCon?
Yeah, I'm not doing a FallCon plug yet.
Oh, okay.
I can. I mean, we could always shoehorn it in.
The Lord knows we're good at crowbar and stuff.
Yeah, that's very true.
But for those of you who watched, I've had a piece of history at the convention.
Ooh.
We played the Mad Magazine board game. Do you remember the Mad Magazine board game, Joe?
I don't think I do.
For 2 years, it was Hasbro's best-selling board game. You start with $10,000 and you go around the board and you try to get rid of all the money. And there are things like, you draw a card and you have to change money with people. You have to get up and change seats, but your money stays in one place. All sorts of odd things like that. And I remember playing it a lot as a kid. It was a game that our family played. And when I read up on the history of it, it's for 79 and 80. It was the best-selling board game in America, outselling Monopoly. And now I had to buy a used copy out on the Amazon.
What did that run you?
Only $25.
Not too bad.
Not bad at all. And then I found an old game that I'd loved when I was a kid. And then I found a used copy at a garage sale 30 years ago. It's called Landslide. It was a game made in the 70s for presidential elections. Oh, is it bad? But it was fun to play with the people who were there, and for those of you who heard the big announcement, Joe hasn't heard it yet, so it will be after the credits, as I call them, when we do the goodbye music. I will talk about the big announcement after that, so as not to surprise Joe.
Yeah, because the only surprise I'm waiting for is Fall Comic-Con, the one-day wonder. You knew it was coming.
Yeah, I did.
October 8th, 2016, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. at the Minnesota State Education Building. Free parking, door prizes, free sign-up, free picnic area. The Nick
free punch and pie.
Scholarship Silent Fund. Well, only if you bring it. Free grab bags for the first 100 attendees. And, of course, advance tickets on sale now, July 1st. Well, we're already almost done with August, but they've been on sale since July 1st at www.mcbacomiccons.com. And if I can get this to work, Mikey sent me a message saying who one of their guests were.
Ooh.
Let's see. Norm Ratmund.
Let me look him up.
Yeah. I'm going to... Thank God for Google, man. If we didn't have, what would we do without it?
Let's see. He is an artist at DC. Also worked at Image. His career began with Brigade Number 1 in 1992.
I would die to have a copy of that.
Joe, he worked on Bloodstrike.
Oh, God. I know I don't have
Rub the blood! Rub the blood! Rub the blood!
Somebody dig through them quarter boxes, man. We're going to have some fun.
He inked issues of Supreme, as well as issue 3 of Alan Moore's Judgment Day series. Drew the Spider-Man Badrock and Silver Surfer Weapon Zero. He worked at Marvel on Avengers, Iron Man, and Fantastic Four. Started working on the DC line in 1998 with the Teen Titans. Let's see. He will return to Booster Gold. Let's see what he is working on now.
Titans number 5 cover.
Let's see, at his webpage, he's got the Superboy 18 cover from 2012, so he's obviously not updating his...
No, he's on the Rapid Fire Twitter machine, and they're doing the covers for Titans.
Okay.
The good one, the one that Wally West is in.
So there you go. There's one of our guests.
NormRatman.com is their website, apparently. So, but it looks like he's gone to Twitter.
Everybody's gone to Twitter.
Except me. I refuse.
Yeah, you're still on MySpace.
Pretty much.
Okay.
It's like being out in the woods. It's nice. It's peaceful.
So why were you out in the woods?
Well, I took a vacation, and
what's that?
You will discover it, because as you get that full-time job cooking along, eventually they start giving you vacation pay. And Cory, you're not going to believe this. They pay you to take time off and do whatever you want.
Oh, so I'll get to work at the group home more.
Well, not necessarily, because they won't pay you for that. But,
the group home will.
Well, then you got vacation time. You can use it as you want. Hopefully you use it to go to Fall Comic-Con, the one-day wonder. October 8th, 2016. Nah, we won't go through that again. But, yeah, we decided, took a 10-day off. And actually, it was 4 days because I worked 10-hour days, and then I tacked my normal days off around it, so I get like 10 days off. And we took a couple trips out into the wilderness, which is why...
The woods?
They were definitely wooded areas. You have to plan these things. You just don't, get up and go. So the day we decided to go, it was me, my lovely wife, my 2 daughters. Our first stop, of course, was the Blue Sun Soda Shop up in Spring Lake Park, right there. It used to be Highway 10, now it's County Road 10. And they're the ones I gabbed about earlier because they got all sorts of sodas, and they had Rat Bastard root beer.
I actually, I stopped at a candy shop myself down in central Illinois, which I will talk about more, but I found out that the new distributor for Rat Bastard root beer is based out of Texas. they only ship via mail, which is why a lot of people don't buy, because shipping glass bottles is quite spendy.
Well, and it was. I stopped there because, first of all, I know my lovely wife would never, ever want to go there. I mean, I could say, hey, let's go to Blue Sun Soda Shop. Nah. So I figured, we're just going to stop and do it. And it was kind of, everybody pick out 3 sodas. One of mine was Rat Bastard, and I picked out a couple diet ones, and the girls picked out some. So we were all sodaed up. And the next stop was one that was quite unexpected. Cory, have you ever gone to Franconia Sculpture Park?
I don't even know what that is.
It's Highway 8 and Minnesota 95 near Taylor Falls, Minnesota.
I never leave the house.
Outdoor sculpture park where the artists, they've been there for 20 years, and the artists make outdoor sculptures, things you can walk through, things you can climb on. The first thing I saw was this huge, well, you and I would call them boom boxes. You're talking there's probably about 20 rows of these things just piled higher than you can even see. The art is imaginative. Some of it's interactive. Some of it's thought-provoking. I put a picture on my Facebook of what I consider my TARDIS. And I've been by this place hundreds of times, never stopped in. It's one of those places where it's free to go in, but it's, donations are
costs $5 to get out?
No, donations, if you want. There's a whole big area where artists are working, and you wander through and you start seeing the sculptures. So I don't think they have a website per se, but it's there. And if you're interested, up on my Facebook page, I've got it. It's called Franconia. You can see some of the art. I don't think I got near half the stuff on display, because as we were wandering through, it's just amazing. Because you're outdoors. It's in a field. It's in some woods. Eventually, the girls got hot, and because it was a really hot, nice summer day. I tried to get as much as I could in, and then I just gave up. And one of these days we'll head back there. Well worth the visit. Very interesting. But where we headed up was close to Spooner, Wisconsin. We got a cabin up there that we were able to borrow from a friend, and it was nice. It was outside of any type of cell service. So for a week there, I had no Facebook, had no internet.
What?
I know, no Facebook, no internet. It was just quiet. We were on a lake. We just hung out. You were talking about games earlier. I played a game called Mutant Yahtzee. I don't know if you've ever played this. You know the official scoreboard in Yahtzee?
Yes.
So it's got, 5 rows, 6 rows, I forget. With Mutant Yahtzee, you play the entire board. So instead of just playing one row and that's your game, you go across the entire board. So you can get up to 5 Yahtzees, you can get up to 5 four of a kind. Makes the game go a lot longer. It's a little more interesting. And I, being the Mutant Yahtzee Championship, I scored 5 Yahtzees and didn't have to cross out a single thing. Needless to say, I stomped everybody else into oblivion, as what you should do when you're playing any form of board game.
Especially with your children.
Oh, and the wife.
It teaches them character.
It does. They need to learn it's okay to lose to dad. We were on a lake. We went kayaking. We went canoeing. They had different islands we could visit. At night, it was really interesting because it was dead quiet. The lake had 4 loons on it, and you would hear them crying every so often. Couple nights we heard some really bizarre animals. I'm not good at impressions, but it's like you're talking all of a sudden 3 in the morning you hear, and then it repeats.
And then somebody said, that's Joe making animal noises.
No, I wish it was me making animal noises. I don't know what the F it was. And then it was a little bit farther away, One night, out back, they have a little swamp that's pretty much reeded in. All of a sudden we hear something crashing through it. One night we just heard, caw, caw, and then it stopped. It was a little bit farther away. It was a little bit closer. It was a little bit farther away. You got to expect these things out in the woods. And you got to expect getting bit by mosquitoes. God, I fucking hate that. The only regret I had is I couldn't get the kids interested in going to a train museum in Spooner. Very sad. They like trains. I think they do. But then they
had just had it with you.
We did. But it was funny because when we went into town and we finally did get cell service, everybody, including my wife who dislikes Facebook and everything, was on their phone. Beep, 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 beep. And then as you go out, it all disappears again. So we hung there for a while, and then
I thought you said you huffed.
We huffed and puffed.
Yeah, maybe you brought some glue and some paper bags.
No,
Joe.
Although we did,
as a Ramones fan, I have to tell you, Carbona, not glue.
Let me write that down. Got it.
Also, because of me being a Ramones fan, I need to remind you, Sheena's a punk rocker. Judy is a runt. These are important things to know. And I want to be sedated.
The best thing is because they're on this podcast, I don't have to write any more down because I'll just copy it onto my hard drive and then I can check it out when I need to. Anyways, that was part one of the vacation. Part two, we went up to our cousin reunion up in Ely, Minnesota. Took a ride. We were, like I said, Spooner, Wisconsin, so we went through Duluth.
Duluth.
And they had, keep going. They had tall ships going on where they bring in all these things.
Oh!
And what was funny is now we came in from the Wisconsin side. Now this is a hint if you ever want to go to this. I don't know if they're ever going to run a tall ship thing there again. But 35E was backed up. Well, it's not 35E up there. Just 35 was backed up. I mean, just dead stop because everybody's trying to get off that first exit or the Lake Avenue exit, which, brings you down to the canal park and try to get curved around and try to get into the parking. Well, we came in from the Wisconsin side, and we were on 53, and we got off the first exit. I don't even know what it is because what it does, it dumps you into their industrial park. But there's a backwards road that leads up to where everybody was parking. So had we planned to actually go to this thing, we wouldn't have waited in line. We'd have been right up front with parking. Should have seen people giving us dirty looks because they didn't think of it. However, they had this huge freaking rubber duck. They should not make rubber ducks that big. We left in a panic. Not so panicked, though, but we did get caught in Minnesota Point. One of the big, what do they call it? Landmarks of Duluth is the lift bridge. And you go across it, and Minnesota Point's a really nice place to live if you can afford it. It's got dunes. It's got a really nice beach on Lake Superior. Then as we were coming back, the lift bridge went up, and we got caught behind it for about 20 minutes. What was real interesting is they had a huge ore boat called the American Integrity come in. I mean, it's hard to describe how big this sucker is because it just fills the canal. I mean, I even think the rubber duck was a little scared of this boat. It was so big. And of course,
by the way, ladies and gentlemen, we are now 20 minutes into this podcast and have not talked about comic books.
And
go ahead.
There's a reason why we won't, because the two times we went through Duluth, nobody wanted to stop at the two comic stores there.
What?
I know.
What is wrong with your children?
I don't know. But anyways, we went up to Ely.
Did you bring any comic books?
We'll get to that in geeking. And I'm not a barbarian. I almost bought the new Neil Gaiman book. He's got one dealing with nonfiction columns of reviews and stuff. Saw it at a small bookstore. And nothing I like better buying a $30 hardcover at a small bookstore. Just kind of make their day. I couldn't remember if I pre-ordered it or not, or if our that damn fine, handsome man, Greg Ketter, will have autographed copies in his store. So,
of course he will.
So I waited to see.
By the way, this is going to be comics free so far already tonight. I'm just going to keep track.
I mentioned comics. I didn't get them. So, but when we got to Ely,
that's like saying this is a podcast about sex, but and the people talking about it are two nuns and a priest.
Exactly. And I'm telling you, well, we'll do an R-rated version of this show sometime where it's two nuns and a priest. Anyways, we got up to Ely. It's always bittersweet going to the cousin reunion up there, not because of seeing the cousins, but because it's on the same lake and it's in the same bay where my grandfather built his cabin. And as a kid, that was always one of the highlights of summer, was going up to the cabin. Well, as most middle-class Minnesotans know, the taxes on these places are outrageous. And our cabins, when my grandpa passed away, my grandma was in ill health, and they decided to sell the cabin. Unfortunately, had they waited 2 years, they could have gotten maybe a couple million for it, but as they did, they just sold it. It was bought by a guy who, if I recall right, is a doctor out of Illinois, who sometimes does not even come up to the cabin. It's like, it must be a status symbol to say, I own lakefront property up in northern Minnesota. Don't go there much, but I own it. They've changed the cabin, but every time you're there, you have the old memories. You know, I'm driving the road into Ely. You remember, we used to be kids I played with here. Used to be an old train track we worked here. And, now it's all ripped out and grown over. The weather was cool and drizzly. There was some storm damage. They had a horrendous storm. You might have seen the headlines about it. Apparently a scout leader and one of the scouts got killed by a falling tree up in the Boundary Waters. And so it was kind of weird seeing the damage. They had a big forest fire over on the far side of the lake, which I guess the storm put out. But so it was fun. It's fun to hang up there. But coming home, we went along the North Shore of Minnesota. Nobody wanted to stop at the comic store again.
Bastards.
Traffic sucked, so we went over to Wisconsin, took like a little detour, had a little bit more time, but it was fun to get away. Even now I'm kind of like, I don't want to be here. I want to be up north. I don't want to be in this city. I want to go away. But I felt an obligation to come back to podcast. And I did see, though, occasionally it looked like you too took a road trip.
Yes, because of the fact that I am now an employee, I decided that one of the things I do before I start a new job is I always go down and visit my parents in central Illinois. So I did not have to work at the group home for a weekend. So I decided to take Thursday and Friday off, and I drove down and visited my parents for the weekend, and they had a big family thing where, we're going to have a big cookout. Well, Cory's a vegetarian. He won't have anything to eat. I'm like, yes, I will.
Yeah.
That macaroni and cheese doesn't have venison in it.
See, we had that same thing because Holly's a vegetarian as well, but she had plenty to eat. You just plan ahead. Plus, this time of year, and I don't know what it's like in Southern Illinois. It's like every mile you go, somebody is selling sweet corn.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's a mandatory thing in the Midwest, and some of it's damn tasty.
Well, my first night down there, they had like 50 ears of sweet corn. They're like, well, let's have sweet corn and I forget what else, sweet corn and. I made a salad of, cucumber, tomato, onion, celery, broccoli, and cauliflower, all minced up. Mixed that with a nice basil vinaigrette that I made and some other things. But it was pretty much all from the farmers' stands around the place. And my parents, as always, made way too much sweet corn. It's like, there are 3 of us. We don't need 10 ears of sweet corn. Oh, you're going to be hungry after your drive. No, actually I'm not, okay? Sitting in a car for 7.5 hours doesn't work up an appetite. It actually just makes you tired. But I had good stuff to listen to. I listened to some podcasts. I listened to my satellite radio. Listen to the No Name Show over on pwinsider.com. Our pals over there. By the way, Joe, you know how I interviewed Mike Johnson from PW Insider?
Yes.
Well, I'm taking a step up next month.
Oh.
I will be interviewing Dave Shearer.
Oh, that should be fun.
And the funny thing is, he's been joking from time to time about, being on my podcast because he doesn't know anything about comics. And when I emailed him, I said, by the way, we're not going to talk about comics. That's not what I'm going to be bending your ear about. I'm going to talk about the fact that you started in the Internet and were an Internet entrepreneur very, very early on. And we're going to talk about how he built One Wrestling and then PW Insider. And talking about how creators and other people can actually use the Internet to generate money.
Money, 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 money.
And you know me, I'll eventually tie it into comics somehow.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah, we got stuff coming up next month. The comic art ops that I really like, I am going to be doing DVD commentary on it with one of the artists on the book.
Because, we'll always be back with more stuff.
Sure thing, Chuck. But on the way down, I listened to that stuff. It was I outraced the storm because my phone kept telling me there was a flash flood warning around me, but didn't get a drop of rain till Friday. And then Friday, I had to get some stuff fixed on the car. And I always get it done down there because they, up here, the car place is $110 an hour just to look at it.
You pulled onto the lot, you owe me $60.
Yeah, down there, the shop I use, it's not a shade tree mechanic. He started as a shade tree mechanic, but over the past 6 years, he's kind of built up, and now he's got a whole, what's known as a Morton building, where they're working on 3, 4, 5 cars at a time, but he still charges about the same amount. So it's, I remember when I got my brakes done, up here, my brakes were so bad, they said, it's going to be about $600-700. Down there, it was less than $200. So it's worth the drive. Plus, my parents feed me
on the way down because no brakes, but on the way back, he could stop.
Yes. But I went to the comic shop in Galesburg, Illinois, and I've talked about it in the past. I forget the name of it originally. Then it changed its name to For the Win, and then it combined with the other comic shop, which was a bookstore. So now they're combined in the same place. And Joe, I'm gonna give some advice to comic shop owners across the world.
Ooh.
When I go into a comic shop, you know what I like to do when I'm there?
Look at comics.
Right. I like to flip through. I like to see what you got. If there's new books, I want to flip through. I want to see how the art looks. I want to see, there are some books that I have not ordered through the mail order place because I want to look at them before I buy them. Everything in the store was bagged and boarded. Trade paperbacks were all the shrink wrapped. So I just kind of moved on to the used book section. The used book section was very much a small town used book section. Joe, do you like the Tom Clancy books?
I've read them for the ones I care to read.
Because they got them all. Do you like the Danielle Steele books? Because they got all of those. Do you like the pretty much? Here's all your Stephen King. Here's all your Anne Rice. It's all the stuff that every used bookstore has. They didn't have a lot in the way of classics. They didn't have a lot in the way of old funky stuff. One of the reasons I like used bookstores in smaller cities is they still want to fill the shelves. They're not like Half Price Book and Magazine where if a book's 5 years old, they get rid of it. I want to see the old stuff, the stuff from the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. They didn't have any of that. So if you are in the area and it's your only comic shop, congratulations, you've got a comic shop.
Woohoo.
But for me, everything's bagged and boarded. The book selection's not that great. I wanted to buy something so bad.
Yeah,
so bad.
I get that way. Like I mentioned the little bookstore I went in. I saw Neil Gaiman's book. When I go into these places, I want to buy something. If anything, just to help them out. Well,
and because, I like books. I like bookstores. I'm always looking for something. But they didn't have anything I was remotely interested in. Their new book section was painfully anemic. And I know there's not another bookstore in the city because the Barnes & Noble went away. The only other places that sell books are Target, which their book selection's pretty bad, and Walmart, which their book selection is worse. And I remember when Target and Walmart had decent book selections for, the new books. But now it's pretty much all, you can't get a Star Trek book there. They don't have the Star Wars books there. They're very limited on their classics. It just, you're making it easy for Amazon to take over. But I was trying to meet friends, but most of them were very busy. One of my friends came over for a little while, someone I had not seen since high school. Her name now is Jeannie Philly, F-I-L-I, but back then she was Jeannie Davis, and we were best pals for a lot of high school. She was kind of the avatar of cool. She was, here we are, small town, Illinois. She goes to prom in a tuxedo. Doesn't play for the other team, just wanted to mess with people's heads. And the funny thing was, she saw me, and we were talking about age and everything, and she reached over and did what you did with the goatee and said, I told you in high school you needed to grow a beard. And I said, I could barely grow a teenage boy mustache in high school. If I would have grown a beard, it would have been a mess.
The world has spoken. Keep that chin covered.
If you don't shut up about it, I'm shaving it tonight.
Oh, yeah, and then you can have everybody with me and, leading. Pitchforks, we're going to glue that hair back onto your chinny chin chin. Yeah, what that?
No,
I brought in a little nursery rhyme on that one.
No, nobody comes to my house.
Everybody comes to your house. But they know to bring $100 for parking, so.
But, my parents watched a lot of the Olympics, and from what I could tell, the coverage of the Olympics was god-awful.
That was what was beautiful about having no internet, no politics, no drama, no Olympics. It was... I come back and I'm like, you know what? I could turn off Facebook, and with the exception of our own Facebook page for this here show, I think I could live quite comfortably. I need my eBay though, but
yeah. But the races were cool. The events were cool, but the way they covered it was, okay, this event is over, and now we're going to go over to this event that has nothing to do with it. Oh, there seems to be some controversy. We'll get back to that later. And then they never did.
Did you see the way they edited the men's swim team?
No.
Because they, like the women's volleyball, wear very skimpy outfits that don't really hide much. But they had the banner across the bottom that gives the what's going on and all different things. They always placed it so it was right across their swimsuit, which made it look like the guys were naked.
Hey now.
And I'm like, boy, that's unintentional censorship.
Maybe the women liked that.
Well, they were curious. I had to explain to some of them it works like a rudder, but.
But one of the things, my parents have really good Wi-Fi. And I brought my tablet down, so I was just consuming Marvel Unlimited.
Ooh!
I went nuts. I remember when Ed Brubaker came on the X-Men, and I was kind of disappointed in it. And now, it's one of those things where you go, yeah, I remember Ed Brubaker. He was on the X-Men a few years ago, and then you look, and it was like 11 years ago. So I sat down and I read X-Men Deadly Genesis, which is the Everything You Know Is Wrong, where we find out that Xavier sent a group to rescue the X-Men from the island of Krakoa before he formed the new X-Men. But the X-Men that he put together all died. Ugh. And that's also the miniseries where Banshee died. By the way, he's better now, but he doesn't hang out with the X-Men anymore.
Yeah, they're kind of square. I think if anything, he wants to hang out with the Inhumans.
But I read that, and then I read the Rise and Fall of the Shi'ar Empire, which really was not much about the rise and fall of the Shi'ar Empire. But the thing was, that was a 12-issue story arc in the X-Men. And they created this team who went out to stop Vulcan from taking over the Shi'ar Empire. And then when it was over, it's like, oh, okay, well, these X-Men are going to stay out in space. And now we go back to the X-Men, and 2 of the characters from that 12 issues are going to be in it. So it really felt like they just kind of went, okay.
That
story, to hell with that story. Who cares? We're done. So you got like a 5-issue thing, and then, oh my God, another big X-Men crossover of Manifest Destiny, it reminded me just how ugly the art was for that, because Mark Silvestri came back and everything was scratchy, and on a tablet it's so hard to read, and that's why I quit reading those X-Men books again. But I got caught up on some other series, and I read through, what was the one I read through that I really, really liked? Spider-Man 2099. It's one of those that's been stacking up on Marvel Unlimited, and Peter David's doing it.
He's always worth checking out.
And Spider-Man 2099 is one of those books where I like it. I like the story, even though the lead character is a character I don't care for at all. Which is why when anybody else does it, it's like, I don't care. But Peter David takes the character and makes the world around him interesting, even if he's just kind of a jerk. But the thing I liked about it was, here I am in my bedroom when I was a teenager. The shelves my dad built for the comics and my typewriter are still there, which means he's much better at building shelves than me, because in my bedroom I have wooden shelves, that kind of dorm shelves, because I to space them, I have honest-to-God milk crates that I stole from when I was in college. And it's it's been there for, I think, 25 years, and it's leaning really bad, so sometime I'm just going to have to take all the books off the shelves and rejigger it and put them all back on. But these shelves my dad built in 1978, they're still there, they're fine. But here I am, I'm reading a tablet which has pretty much every Marvel comic published from 6 months ago back. And if I would have told the 14-year-old me that, hey, by the way, someday you'll have a computer in your hand you can read every Marvel comic on, I would have wanted to time travel to now. It was a very weird experience in a lot of ways.
It is weird. I talked about that briefly, going up to where your childhood is, and it's like a disconnect between now and the past, and you're like, I don't know what to call it. It's not deja vu. It's not longing. It's not, I wish things were better. It's just, I don't know. It's like you're using brain cells that haven't fired up in a while. I remember this. I remember that.
And then the last day I was down there was the big family gathering for all the birthdays, and they did cooking, and they made me 8 veggie burgers, and it's like, I may eat one. You don't need to cook 8 of them. But here's how much my family knows me, Joe. Mm-hmm. You ready?
Sure.
There were 7 different kinds of pie. To which I said, what the hell is everybody else going to eat? Then the drive back was...
You can't see it, but I'm shaking my head right now.
Then, the drive back's always hard because, it's fun to drive to someplace because you're exploring. Driving back, you're like, I just want to be home. I just want to be home. And then I had someone who was, like, wanting to argue with me over text messages while I was driving. So I'm driving along, and there would be another ba-deep, 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 ba-deep. Then when I'd stop to get gas or to a rest stop or something, I'd just, driving, blah, 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 blah. 10 minutes later, beep, beep, beep. And I need to have the phone on because, if, first off, it tells me if there's road hazards or whatever. And also my parents, they want to know if I'm okay. And if somebody calls, but,
that's what I loved about being in an area where you couldn't get reception because
that would be nice.
It was nice.
But getting out at every rest stop, and going in and cleaning the stuff out of the car and making sure I had, the soda and water and doing all that and, reading about how horrible a human being I am over text messages. That made the trip extra special. The good thing was I got home and had 6 hours of New Japan Pro Wrestling on the DVR. So I had that. Hello?
Sorry, boss was yelling at me.
Oh.
But I had it on.
Over text messages?
I had it on mute. Oh, no, she was just saying the same thing. Because, see, for her, it was like, I've talked in the past about how her job, doesn't function without her. So it's like we would get into a cell phone area and all of a sudden she would have that same thing. Her phone would explode. Mine would beep a couple times, if somebody were to face stab me or eBay sale or whatever, but hers was like, oh my God, I just got 18 emails. Don't these people know I'm on vacation? Although occasionally something cool happens, like when I got a little beep saying that they're doing a movie with Adam West, Burt Ward, and Julie Newmar.
Why, yes.
Which is funny because in one of my goofy fanfics, when I'm sitting there figuring, okay, how am I going to rejigger Supergirl CBS to Supergirl CW? I thought they should do like a crisis thing and wipe out all the continuity from the CBS show and then have a couple episodes where she's working her way through realities. One of them, she lands at a broken, stately Wayne Manor, whose only inhabitant is Adam West as Bruce Wayne. And then while he's there, he figures out who she is, and you got to send her on her way. And she tries to warn her about a crisis. And as they I couldn't figure out how to get her out of that reality because I'd also have as you're down in what's left of the Batcave, we've seen this before. Was it Dark, where the mansion's destroyed, but the Batcave? Oh, that was in Kingdom Come. The Batcave is still functioning, and so you're down in the Class of '60 Batcave, and you'd have a picture of George Reeve as Superman because what killed the manor would have been the same person who killed Superman, and then. As they finally get rid of Supergirl onto the next reality, Julie Newmar and Burt Ward would make an appearance, just little goofy things like that. Have her show up in the Superman universe at, what was the name of the actor in Superman Forever or whatever? Superman Returns?
Oh, Brandon Routh.
Yeah, he was Superman. And it's like, well, you look like Superman, but not quite. Just goofy crap like that until you finally get to the CW universe. And then to find out they're doing that, I'm like, okay, who's reading my mind? I didn't even mention that on the podcast, and somebody stole it already.
Bastards.
Could you go back and just put that snippet in episode 60, and then we'll just bring forward and say, hey, you guys owe us for this.
There you go. Bastards.
Just can't trust anybody.
Stole it from us.
Everybody steals stuff from us.
You know who doesn't steal stuff from us?
Who's that?
These guys, our sponsors. Yes, here at Solitaire Rose Networks, we have ads. That's right, we have ads. Just like every other podcast. Come on, it's okay. Our first advertiser is our longest-running advertiser, and that's DreamHost.com. DreamHost.com is the best, bar none, web host all over the interwebs. You could go to other web hosts. You could go to the ones that have big ads on TV and everything, and they're not going to give you the service, the dependability, and the reliability of DreamHost. Head on over to DreamHost.com, use the code CRAZY, KRAYZ, and get $20 off your first year of web hosting. Another of our sponsors is Dollar Shave Club. Dollar Shave Club has great blades at low prices, and let's face it, you gotta shave. Head over to shaved.by/C19DC, get you some blades. They're wonderful. I use them. I use all of our sponsors. Matter of fact, head on over to crazycomics.com. Over on the right-hand side of the page, you'll see all of our sponsors. Bombas, Grays, Flaviar, Dollar Shave Club, and DreamHost. If you would like to advertise on any of the podcasts in the Solitaire Rose Network, you can. Just email solitairerosenetwork@gmail.com, subject advertising.
Oh, it's so nice not to be stolen from.
Yes. And after we do the sponsors, we ask Joe, What's going on the eBays?
Cory, it's time to ask the Strode.
Oh, Lord.
Cory, tell me about Give Me Liberty.
Oh, that was Frank Miller and Dave Gibbons doing a mini-series and then a couple other series about Martha Washington. I actually have the big book that collects the whole thing. Really good science fiction comic. And because Miller's an artist, he gave Dave Gibbons some cool stuff to draw. But I really like that book. And is it still in print?
No idea, because that's not the Give Me Liberty I was talking about.
Oh.
Years before Miller and Gibbons, Patrick Henry's quote was used to title a bicentennial special in which Gilbert Sheldon, Ted Richards, Gary Halgren, and Willie Murphy applied the wit of the underground to the events of the War of Independence. Basically an educational title published by Ripoff Press in 1976. It's kind of a humorous cartoon style employed by, well, I don't know, takes dry historical detail and covers all the salient points. Long out of print, but of course there's plenty of them on eBay. I just sold mine, so we'll give you some credit for that.
That was toward the end of the Undergrounds too,
yeah.
And I really feel like that I missed out on the whole underground thing because they were pretty much dead by the time I was able to go to comic shops in the 80s. And I know that they continued on with Weirdo, and Fantagraphics used a lot of the stuff. And a lot of the Crumb stuff has been reprinted. The Fabulous Furry Freak Brothers has been reprinted.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite. I think there's a couple Wonder Warthog that were reprinted.
But there's there's tons and tons of underground comics that I think they should be putting into collected editions. They did a collected edition of Zap with all new issue 17. How much was it? Over $100. Yeah. And it's, well, only hardcore collectors are going to get that. Why not put out some trade paperbacks of it? Let's see how much the Zap collection is.
All right. Let's hang a second here.
I'm going to the Strodetron 2000.
And since I've got my eBay thing up, I will... 1P or 2?
1.
Zap?
Yep, Zap Comics. No, Joe, I was wrong.
What?
It's $400. The Zap Comics Complete Box Set, released in 2014, $416.85 new. That's down from the list price of $500. You can buy it used for $400.
Yeah, there ain't none on eBay.
But, yeah, it's all of them in beautiful hardcovers, specially printed on acid-free, 100% cotton fine art paper using archive pigment inks. An introduction by R. Crumb, an oral history of Zap, includes the 17th unpublished issue. With work by Crumb, Moscaso, Wilson, Rodriguez, Shelton, Mafrides, and Williams. Now, why don't they have these as trade paperbacks?
Too much to pay the boys?
I don't know, because there's Crumb's. There's a collection of everything R. Crumb did from Weirdo that's also available. Let's see how much that is. The list price on that was $35. It's out of print now. It's collectible.
Weirdo?
Yeah, Weirdo was the magazine that he edited, and then he turned over the editing of that to Peter Bagg, the guy who did Neat Stuff and Hate. And Weirdo was kind of the last sort of gasp of the Undergrounds. It was a magazine, supposedly monthly, but it just kind of came out whenever it came out. And... when I worked at
oh, never mind. That's just number 14 for $40. But no complete Weirdo.
Well, it was R. Crumb, all of R. Crumb stuff.
Oh, so volume 14 of the complete Crumb.
Yeah,
$65. Somebody for $50.
Yeah, I've got the whole run of the complete Crumb.
Cool.
But these undergrounds just feel like they were such an important part of comics and really an important part of counterculture. And when you read real hardcore comic book reviews, they will refer to things like Binky Brown meets the Holy Mother Mary and other kind of well-known underground books, but they're not in print anywhere. And I think, maybe the audience isn't huge for it, but, the fact that R. Crumb's got so much stuff out in bookstores, you'd think they'd be able to at least get some of this stuff out there. The good thing is I'm friending a lot of the original underground comic artists on Facebook, so I'm seeing what they're doing now. Like, I think it's, who is it? Skip Williamson is doing these beautiful acrylic art paintings that are being hung in museums. So the artists who are still alive are still working. It's just they left the undergrounds.
Yeah.
What else is going on the eBays, Joe? Since I got distracted.
No, that's a good distraction.
Damn you!
I like to that was a good derail. It makes up. See, now we're talking all comics, whereas at the beginning of the podcast we were talking no comics. So it balances out. You are going to get a full, rich dose of comically goodness in this here podcast.
Comically?
Comically.
Is that a real word?
It can be if we keep saying it all.
Okay.
Anyways, while I was gone, one thing that's nice about having the eBay stores is you can put it on vacation. So I was able to put it on vacation
too.
And it just said, well, I left things up so people could buy them, and had a couple sales while I was gone. And there were a few people that were trying to converse with me, and I'm like, between going in and out of cell service, occasionally I was able to respond. But so if you were asking a question, I'm back. The store's off vacation mode, and I'm ready to go. KRAYZ, and let me know you listen to this here podcast, and I will toss in something from my vast accumulation of crap.
You're like Eric Bischoff. You're back and better than ever.
Well, I wouldn't say that, but I am back.
So that's it on the eBays?
Hey, they can go find what I got.
Well,
I got over 400 items on there, with more going on all the time.
Then that means there's one part of the show left.
There is. Goodbye, everybody.
Joe?
Yeah?
I know you skipped last week, but there's one more thing we do.
Well, you had a fill-in episode. You didn't have to bring in Dan.
Well, who could I have brought in?
That's true.
That fill-in episode is when I get hit by a banana truck.
And we all know there are banana trucks circling the Strode compound, just waiting for you to misstep.
They're like coyotes going after the lame sheep. No, Joe, we do freaking and geeking. What's going on?
I'm out of here. I got to go back to work tomorrow.
But you get paid, right?
If I could support myself with just sitting in the woods doing eBay, I would. This here pine cone is just different from the other 25 I put on. I have what I call the fire museum dilemma when I go on vacation. Basically, in Hinckley, Minnesota, and in Moose Lake, there are two museums talking about this massive, crazy wildfire that killed hundreds of people. Largely, it was a result of bad logging practices, because they would basically take the good wood, leave the crap behind, and just like Southern California tends to light up every year, boy, it happened in Minnesota twice. I've never been to these fire museums. My dad would, you don't want to go there. It's no good. And yeah, I can go read it on the interwebs now, but I like the museums. I like to go visit. But every time we go up, it's like, oh, let's stop at the museum. Oh, no, we'll do it on the way home. Yeah, girls don't want to go. Wife doesn't want to go. Okay, on the way back. Okay, let's stop at the museum. Oh, come on. We just want to go home. We don't want to. Didn't get to the train museum. There was one in Frederick, Wisconsin I could have gone to. I could have gone to the Depot in Duluth. I could have gone to comic stores in Duluth. I didn't get to do any comics. Although I did find two cool Hot Wheels at Shopko. Used to be these stores. Did you have Pomida in Illinois?
No.
Pomida was kind of like a poor man's Walmart. And with the advent of Walmart, basically they went out of business. But they got bought by this place called Shopko, which I don't know if they're in Southern Illinois. I think the closest one here is actually St. Cloud. But they tend to pop up in small towns that don't have a Walmart. And I did find 3 Hot Wheels that I thought were kind of cool. And there was a 4th one, but I couldn't afford it. I got the Back to the Future DeLorean time machine. I got the deluxe version of the Homer from Simpsons. And I got the Mystery Machine from, I forget what the name of those meddling kids are. And they had a Batmobile, a classic 66 Batmobile. And I decided to pass on it. When I went back for it, it was gone. So that was my freaking. Cory, what are you freaking on?
When I took these days off of work, my full-time job was like, oh, okay, fine, cool. The part-time job, on the other hand, where I have been taking a lot of sleeping shifts, I came in and one of the supervisors was there, not a supervisor I work with a lot, but one of the supervisors there. She said, I've been looking over the schedule, and you're not getting in your 40 hours this week. And I also checked, and you don't have any paid time off. So you do need to make sure that you're filling a full schedule. And I'm working this weekend, so what I thought we would do is have you take my shifts. To which I said, I will be out of town, and I'm not a full-time staff. Her response, are you sure about that?
And your response?
My response was, I'm part-time. Please check the schedule. That's why I don't have any paid time off. All right, but once I check, if you're full-time, you need to talk with blah, blah, blah to make sure that you get in your full 40 hours. And I put my bed together on the couch and went to sleep.
I have a pain behind my eye.
My conversion was today, where I went from a temp to a real boy. And I had all sorts of new employee stuff to do, but I also had to complete all of my tasks. So today was a day of chaos. Half the day my computer didn't work right because they had to convert everything over and port over my email and port over this and port over that, and I felt very ported. And so there was that. But the good thing is, Joe, now I have life insurance, so if I do get hit by that banana truck, you guys don't have to worry about how to put me in the ground. You can afford it now.
Well, there's that, and if you give me a nice stipend, I will continue the podcast in your honor.
Well, there you go.
Or finish it. Finish it.
Finish him. And for the last 2 weeks, I have had what are known as cascading panic attacks. I've had panic attack after panic attack after panic attack after panic attack after panic attack. They're usually caused when I'm very, very stressed and I don't have a lot in the way of a good support system, and it's all on me. And the good thing is I now have medical coverage, so I already have an appointment with the doctor to go, can I get some chemicals? But, Joe, you've read Spider-Man, right?
Is this a trick question?
Yes.
Is there a pound of marijuana in it, like the guy in Gaylord, Minnesota, mistakenly got in the mail?
No.
Okay, I'm going to have to plead the fifth.
Let me ask again. Joe, you've read Spider-Man, right?
Yes.
What are Spider-Man's powers?
Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. Spins a web that's kind of gross. And he makes people go, Eos. Look out. Here comes a Spider-Man. Is he strong? Listen, bub. He's got radioactive blood.
Now, that line never made sense to me. Is he strong? Hey, he's got radioactive blood. That has nothing to do with if he's strong or not.
And his semen killed Mary Jane, but let's not talk about that. It's a pain. Look out. We're talking Spider-Man.
Yeah, go through Spider-Man's powers for me, would you please?
Spider sense.
There you go. That's the one.
Aha.
How come when Spider-Man freaks out because their danger is coming, it's a superpower. When I do it, it's called a panic attack, and I need to get chemicals so that I don't spend my entire day at work feeling like the whole world is about to collapse on me at any moment. It's just not fair, and it's just not right. And Joe, what are you geeking on?
It was great to have no internet. Now, before I went on vacation, I actually, what I would have geeked on last week was stuff that I was reading, because I read Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, which was the hardcover that came out. It's basically, how would you say, it's the screenplay for the play version, I guess, that was in Britain and is going to start touring, I guess, in the U.S. sometime soon, or maybe just camp on Broadway. If you like Harry Potter, it's kind of a good sequel, and it reads really fast because you are essentially reading a play. I also read Deathlock the Demolisher, the complete collection. I think the new word for me, as you know, I wasn't big on omnibus, but I'm getting there. If I see the word complete collection in Marvel, I am definitely probably going to pick it up because it's so much fun. They have the original runs, usually starting in the 70s. They got the little bits if they show up in like 2-in-1 or Marvel Team Up. And then usually there is a conclusion to that particular storyline. What was the other one I was reading last time where it got you talking Gerber again? Omega the Unknown. Yes, that complete collection was fabulous. Deathlock suffers from the same problem that Omega did. When they finally get to the finale, it's 2-3 issues in Captain America where Captain America ends up going forward in time.
Yes.
And they wrap things up and they explain things out and they all sorts of kind of happens and it's all lit. I remember reading the Captain America stuff as a kid and I thought, oh, wow, that is cool because I like Deathlock. But now I'm reading it and it's like, it's one of those series, I imagine, like you said, with the Gerber stuff, they had no idea where they were going. They were just hoofing dope and writing comics. And, they try to do their best. I mean, there's things they never explained, like who stole the original Deathlock after he'd been erased from his original programming, who totally lobotomized him in Marvel 2-in-1 and sent him off to try to take over, was it Project Pegasus?
Yes.
And of course, being that this all happened, what was it, the heady year of 1986 or something?
Yes.
So obviously it was just a timeline that never happened and got aborted. But the series was fun and it was neat, and I just ordered me that Warlock one off eBay. So and I've read the Warlock one before. I do remember having a lot of these issues because as the 80s and 90s went on, it was like, oh, Deathlock's coming back. Look at this issue go up in price tremendously. And I was able to pick them up. I suffered from what I have it because I could get it. I mean, that's how I was able to get a copy of Brother Power the Geek. It suddenly went up in price like crazy. And I got a couple copies of the 2 issues. Night Nurse, same thing. But in the ensuing years, I ended up just selling them off because really they don't read that well. But when you get them in a complete collection, and if you read it alongside of what back issue covers, you kind of get what's going on. And it was fun to read. I enjoyed it a lot. While on vacation, oddly enough, I turned to some manga that I'd been stockpiling. The first one was a hardcover that just came out called Queen Emerald. I can't even say it. Emeraldus. Part of the Captain Harlock universe. It's a story of the pirate ship Queen Emeraldus, which is captained by the mysterious and beautiful Emeraldus, who's a strong, powerful privateer. Storyline follows a young boy named Hiroshi Yumino, who sneaks aboard a freighter just to get the hell out of Earth. And this is kind of a lonely book. I mean, it's kind of, in this universe, space is vast, it's beautiful, and it's lonely. It's solo. the queen travels alone. Hiroshi travels alone. He makes his own spaceship, and for some reason, Emeralda takes an interest in Hiroshi. And the manga, of course, reads the way it normally does in Japanese. This is a first book, volume 1, that came out from Kodansha Comics, created by Leiji Matsumoto. And I hope if Lyndon's listening, you can call in and give me the correct pronunciation. Really interesting book. I mean, just kind of like the Wild West in outer space. It ties into the Captain Harlock, which I know only because they tried to do a Captain Harlock tie-in with Star Blazers. That didn't work for whatever reason. And now I want to go out and I got to wait for volume 2 to come out, and I got to wait. I might start hunting around for some of the Captain Harlock stuff. I also took along with me Oh My Goddess Omnibus 1, 2, and 3.
I love that series.
I have had that series in the past. I've had it in comic form. I started collecting the Dark Horse books when they came out, but along the way I just lost track, sold them. With the Omnibus, I'm just going to pick them up. I cracked them open and read them. Oh, what fun. Oh My Goddess, or Oh My Goddess in some places, illustrated by, again, Koshuki Fushima, and it's said it's the longest Americanized, or in English language, manga ever. Notice it didn't say the longest manga ever, just the longest in North America. And the story is basically Kilichi Musato is a college sophomore, accidentally calls a goddess helpline, and the goddess Belldandy materializes and basically grants him a wish. And he kind of think it's a practical joke. He says, I wish that you would stay with me forever. And his wish is granted. And after that, things just go bad. I mean, I don't care what Ishato does. It just never turns out. The only thing that he has going for him is that him and Belldandy just fall in love with each other. His sister shows up. Or I should say, yeah, his sister shows up. Her sister shows up, Erd. Her younger sister, Skuld, shows up. The characters just show up fast and furious. I think it was volume 2 had a very interesting, almost end of the universe storyline going, which I just read so fast. And this is so wonderful, and it was an awesome way to read it, just to have 3 volumes right in a row. And I'll be giving them to my daughter, and they'll probably never be seen again. So that's the last I'll mention it here. While on vacation, saw a couple movies I have never seen before. The first one is Big Fish, which is
Tim Burton.
Yep, 2003, kind of a fantasy drama film based on a novel. Yeah, Ian McGregor is in it. Jessica Lange. Just a wonderful, wonderful show. Never seen it. I'm not going to recap it. You can Google it or go rent it if you want. The other one we saw is Ocean's 11. Never saw it.
Oh, I like that movie.
Never saw it. Yeah, a lot of fun. I just sat down, strapped myself in, said, okay, this movie means absolutely nothing. Let's just have some fun. You know, and it was just amazing. And I know there's Ocean 12. I think Ocean 13 did they do? And
yes, they went up to 13.
And then there's the original Rat Pack one I can probably pick up somewhere. So we did catch some movies. The other thing we geeked on, and I guess it depends on your viewpoint of whether you're a kid or not. My wife was part of the board of directors that actually helped rebuild Twin Cities Academy, which is a charter school that was renting out a very, very old grade school. I mean, I didn't realize it until they left, but they had 2 water fountains at every place. It used to be whites and colored. I was like, wow, a little bit of racism still exists in the architecture. Well, they're out of this building. They have a brand new school that she helped spearhead and get moving. It's based off an old Semstone cemetery plant site in the middle of the city, which could have gone for years as a polluted site, but through the work of Chris and the board of directors and, of course, Semstone helping clean it up, it's now a brand new charter school. I believe it's 1 through 12. And, again, I was impressed. It was so interesting to walk through a school that's brand new, never been taught in. I'm sure the kids fall in 2 categories. Most of the kids that were there were excited. They're poking their eyes around. They're looking at all the new stuff, saying hi to the new teachers. Or they're like my daughter, sulking over at her boyfriend's house. So, and let me look at I guess when this podcast drops, this Minnesota State Fair will be going. So if you get a chance, stop by the 1919 Ripper booth. Grab yourself up a tall, cold one in memory of our good buddy Nick Post. And
his sister will be working
Gabby
there.
will be running it. So best root beer ever. Well, except for Rat Bastard. But they're different because Rat Bastard's bottled and 1919 Root Beer's kegged. So
the thing about Rat Bastard that I really like, it's not super sweet.
No, it's got a bite to it too.
Yeah, it's got it tastes a little like licorice.
And the last thing, this is a future geeking.
Ooh.
Cory, when are we going geeking?
I don't know.
Give me a Sunday you're free and let's do it. We got places to go. I got to get you up to that blue soda shop so you can pick up that Dead World soda that I showed you. Because nobody else is buying it, so you still got a chance of getting a set. So, hopefully someday in the future, Cory and I will get free and we'll have maybe we'll go up to those Duluth stores and check them out. Who knows?
Who knows?
We don't know. Cory, what are you geeking on?
Talking about the Dead World soda and everything, when I was down in Illinois, my father and I, when we dropped the car off, he took me to a diner that was pretty mediocre, but right next door was a hardware store that had a candy shop in it.
Oh.
And, I'm used to Minnesota's largest candy store.
Oh, hell yeah.
But this was, half the hardware store was candy, and they did have some older candies. They had 7-Up bars, they had Clark bars, they had Zero bars.
No Marathon bars.
No Marathon bars, and they did not have any Zagnut bars.
Oh.
And we know my love of Zagnut bars. But they also had tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of hard candy and taffy. So you can't do a road trip without hard candy. You and your little chocolate donuts.
Yum.
Me, it's got to be hard candy. So I had a whole bunch of hard candy that I hadn't seen in a long time. They had Mary Jane's as well. Hey now. Yeah. And they had the Dead World soda.
Did you pick up some?
I picked up one, and it was okay. But the guy was more excited about me buying it than I was about seeing it. And I told him, it's from a comic book, and I got into a little of the history of the comic. He's like, oh, wow, that's really cool. He has to drive up to Chicago to pick it up because they won't ship it. And I asked about Rat Bastard root beer and the Skeleton stuff, and he said that gets shipped from Texas, and the shipping is just too expensive it would make it like $3 and $4 a bottle for him, and it's not worth it. The other thing I was geeking on while I was down in Illinois, of course, everybody brought me pie. I got to see my old Saturday Night Live buddy, Jeannie. Had not seen her since I graduated high school, and that's a weird feeling. It's a weird feeling. But the last thing I am geeking on is something I pre-ordered off the Amazon. Joe, you know the comic Lone Wolf and Cub, right?
Oh, yes.
And you do know that they did movies based on it, right?
I'm aware of that, yeah.
Criterion is putting out a collector's set of all 6 movies. They came out in, 4 of them actually came out in 1972, one came out in 73, and one came out in 74. Criterion is putting out a complete set. It's $100, but somebody clued me in that they made a mistake when they first listed it and had it for a discount price of $39.99 the first day. And if I ordered it on that day, and they have not raised the price on me, even though they have raised the price, to $79. All of us who pre-ordered it at $40 are still getting it. Not only does it have the 6 movies, but Criterion goes above and beyond. These are Blu-rays. Let's see. The disc features new 2K digital restorations of all 6 films with uncompressed monaural soundtracks in the Blu-rays. A high-definition presentation of Shogun Assassin, the 1980 English-dubbed re-edit of the first 2 films. New interviews with Kazu Koei. A new interview with the writer of Lone Wolf and Cub.
If there anybody out there that speaks Japanese, help us out.
There is a 2005 documentary about the making of the series. So even though it's got the 6 films, there's 2 more movies it has in it. So now we're up to 8 movies. A new interview with the director and the person who taught the sword techniques to the actors. A new interview with the director of the first 4 films, a silent documentary from 1937 about the making of samurai swords, and a booklet featuring essays and film synopses with new English subtitle translations. This, by the way, you ready for another comic book collection, Joe?
Sure. The
art for the box and all of the movies is done by Paul Pope, who did the excellent Batman 100 and a number of other comics. So this is, once I get this, I may not leave the house for a few days. So I'm geeking on that. Also, like I said, when I was down at my parents', I was reading through tons of Marvel Comics on the tablet. It's really, really cool to be able to do that anywhere. And I have benefits. I have medical, dental, vision, and life insurance benefits for the first time in 6 years.
Cool.
So I can get my British teeth fixed. The last thing I am geeking on, I have my new driver's license, Joe.
Odd thing to geek about, but okay.
Hold on. And, you have to turn that in when you start a new job because they take a photocopy of it. Mm-hmm. And what I noticed is I have my 2 previous driver's licenses behind it. Now, I know by stepping on the scale that I've lost weight. But because, when you lose weight, you really don't see it in yourself that much because you're losing weight kind of slowly if you're doing it right. Looking at these driver's licenses, you can really see how much weight I've lost in my face. So the fact that I've lost about 50 pounds in the last year and a half, for me, it's like, I'm wearing smaller clothes and I'm going to have to get a new belt and everything. But I still look down and I go, I still got a gut and it's still got. But looking at these pictures, it's like, wow, I can really tell how much weight I've lost just by looking at my face on my driver's licenses. And that's kind of a motivator to keep getting myself healthier.
Cool.
So I got that going for me. Believe it or not, kids, you've listened to us blather on about funny books for an hour and a half.
Thank you.
And as we say every week, the comic we like the least, we still like better than the comic that you like the most. Joe?
You know what, Cory? Do you know what?
Yes.
I feel like dancing. Call my mama, hit my music.
Okay, now that the music is over, here is the big announcement that is coming at LionCon, which is tomorrow, but this will be released the day after LionCon, so yeah, we did time travel. LionCon was the last appearance I will be making at comic conventions for the foreseeable future. It was a fun experiment, but it became a little too much for me, and I have to kind of dial back and decide what was important. And what I've decided is that podcasts are more important than appearances. So you're going to be getting more podcasts, actually. Solitaire Rose Radio in September will be going bi-weekly. So 1 week you will get Novelcast. The next week you'll get Solitaire Rose Radio, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. The weekly news update, I'm going to be spending the next 2 weeks getting up to date on that so that it's coming out the same week the news is actually coming out. And the last big announcement is that our new podcast that I have been teasing all summer, Joe and I are going to start doing series reviews. We're going to take a comic book series and go through it issue by issue, talking about the issue, talking about what was going on behind the scenes if we can find out, and talking about what was going on with us. The first one we will be doing is Master of Kung Fu. We have not decided what we're going to call this new series yet, but it will be coming out probably irregularly for the first first 5, 6 episodes, and then we'll figure out what our schedule is on it. But those are the big announcements. I want to thank everybody for all their support through all of this. We're continuing to grow. Solitaire Rose Network is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and when I look at the numbers, I'm very happy. So onward and upward. Thanks. Bye-bye.